Ready-to-wear or custom clothing? What's best for you? It's going to depend on some different factors. However, here are some pros and cons of ready-to-wear clothing that can hopefully help you make a well-informed decision on your next garment purchase. Let's take a look. The first pro for ready-to-wear clothing is that it's immediately available for you to purchase. You can simply walk into a store, see something you like, find the appropriate size, and purchase it. It's gratifying to be able to walk out with your purchase the same day. Sometimes it's not always available, I get that, but generally speaking, that is the benefit of ready-to-wear clothing, is that it is literally on the rack waiting for you to come and purchase. The second benefit of going with a ready-to-wear garment or an off-the-rack garment in comparison to a custom garment would be some customers, and this might not be you, but some customers have a little bit harder of a time imagining what the finished garment is going to look like. Since we're dealing generally in custom with a smaller swatch and not a full bolt of fabric, sometimes extrapolating that small swatch out into a finished garment can be difficult. So the benefit of a ready-to-wear garment would be you actually get to see exactly what it is you're getting. It's also then a lot easier, especially if you come into a store that has the different forms put together with different ideas or suggestions for how to wear it. It sometimes can make the novice dresser, it'd be a little bit more accessible for them to sort of take some ideas and then to roll with it and make it their own, instead of just seeing a swatch and then having to extrapolate out what that whole outfit is going to look like. Another possible benefit of ready-to-wear garments is if you find a pattern that tends to fit you quite nicely off the rack, most of the alterations are going to be fairly easy to accomplish either in the store or at your local tailor or alterationist. One of the benefits of this is that you know, going back over and over again, that you're going to be able to, barring you don't change that much, you're going to be able to grab the same garment and be able to go with it. So if you see something you like, you can execute quickly. The other benefit, which I would guess would be the fourth benefit, would be it's more cost effective. So if you find a pattern, and this is going to be pattern and individual specific, but if you find a pattern that tends to fit you quite well, it's going to be cheaper to buy this garment already made than it is to go through the custom process, generally speaking. Apples to apples, making one is going to cost a lot more, or at least more, than if somebody's making multiples of them. However, I will remind you that that is assuming that you can find a garment that fits you quite nicely off the rack that will then not need a lot of alterations. If, however, it is a garment that's going to need a lot of alterations, then it might behoove you to spend a little bit of time thinking about what alterations are going to be done to the garment and how much that's going to end up costing. A lot of places do not include alteration costs when it comes to buying a new piece of clothing. If they do, then that's great. If they don't, you're going to have to take those added costs into consideration as well to make sure that you're actually getting a better price. There's nothing wrong with doing alterations to garments. It's very useful. That having been said, if those alteration costs start creeping up to the cost of what it would be just to make one specifically for you, you're going to be able to get a better fit ultimately going with custom. And if the price is the same, it's sort of a no-brainer. Where this caveat and price differentiation would be sort of a moot point would be if you need that garment very quickly and custom now is no longer an option, that might be the deciding factor between the two. One of the other benefits of going with off-the-rack clothing is generally stores will put together a collection of garments that work harmoniously with one another. So if you end up going with a specific sport coat, they're probably going to have trousers, shirts, ties, pocket squares, scarves, etc. that are going to go nicely with it already. With custom, depending on your choices, you might end up not seeing a lot of other things already made that you're then going to want to go with, and you might then be forced or at least compelled to do custom on those garments as well. While that's not necessarily a problem in and of itself, sometimes we only go into a store thinking we're going to do one custom piece and then just buy off the rack for the other ones, especially if, for instance, you have a harder time fitting into coats, but trousers aren't a problem. If you're then looking for that sort of also have a corresponding trouser for a jacket that they don't have, sometimes that can be a little bit more complicated, or at least a little bit more frustrating if you're just hoping to be able to buy all those other things off the rack as well. This will lead to higher overall costs if the whole outfit has to be done custom. Now, if you're prepared for that, not a problem. However, if you're only looking at getting one custom garment because of a specific fit issue, that can sort of be, I don't want to say a deal breaker, but it can be a little deflating at times because you still might want to walk out with something. So to recap, there are a lot of benefits of going with off the rack or ready to wear garments. However, there are some drawbacks, and you'll just have to weigh those depending on your specific case. If you have some time to wait, if your budget is a little bit more flexible, or if you're a little bit more difficult of a fit, custom might be the option for you. However, if you're a fairly standard size, you don't mind doing some alterations to the garments, and you need them in a shorter amount of time and maybe a little bit more cost of, approachable, then ready to wear can be a great option for you. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or send us a message, and get ready for the next video on custom clothing. Take care.